Hi, it's Cara. I'm in my Hufflepuff scarf, which should give away that I am filming my NEWTS Magical Readathon Tbr. I forgot what it was for a second there. I have so many books in front of me, it's not even funny. This is gonna go for so long. What have I already talked about? I'm refilming this section because I decided to zoom in. I felt really far away. But things to consider. I have picked a book for every single challenge, which is why there's a lot of books. I don't think I'll achievably get to all of them, but we're gonna get to as many as we can. For each subject in the NEWTS, there are 3 levels of challenges for acceptable, exceeds expectations, and outstanding. So there's 3 challenges, 3 books you need to read for every subject to get full marks, I guess. I'm going for the healer career, which means I need an exceeds expectations. So I need to do 2 challenges for charms, defense against the dark arts, herbology, potions, and transfiguration to pass my career. So they're the ones I'm going to focus on first, and I'll point those out to you as we go along the way. But I'm going to try and read more than that. I'm going to aim for between 15 and 20 books or all up, but this could be pushing it, we'll see. So for ancient runes, the first challenge for acceptable is Airwise, the Airwise rune for partnership, and that's a book recommended by a friend. And for that, I'm going to read Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Colthurst. This is a YA fantasy following our main character. She's a princess. I was gonna find her name, but we're keeping this short. She's a princess. She needs to go marry this prince for political reasons, but she ends up falling in love with his sister. And this was recommended to me by April over at Aprilius Maximus, which I'll link her up in the corner. She's amazing. And she read this not that long ago and recommended it to me when I sent her a picture of my shelf. And then for an E in exceeds expectations, we have a book written in past tense. And for that, I'm going to be reading Gumiho Wicked Fox, or Wicked Fox in the US, by Kat Cho. This is a Korean-inspired fantasy set in modern-day Seoul, and I'm really excited about it, and it is told in past tense. And finally, for an O in Ancient Runes, we have a book that's been on your TBR for ages. This is one I probably won't get to, but we've got it on here anyway, and that's Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. This is a historical fantasy, I believe, and it came out a while ago, and it's been on my TBR since it came out. And I have the sequel, so problematic. I am problematic. I may also decide I might do a try chapter or something with this, and if I don't, like if I get to it, and if I don't like it, I might unhaul both of them. My enthusiasm for it is low. Also, I'm going to be putting books up on my shelf as we go, so you might see this little bit just here. That's probably all you'll see. We'll slowly fill up. So the next challenge is for arithmancy, and for an acceptable in arithmancy, you need a book that ends on an even page number. And for that, I'm going to be reading These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. This was sent to me by LGBTQ Reads, which is an amazing group of people. I think Dahlia Adler is high up on it. She's a pretty big author in the YA queer community, and she's very active on Twitter. And if you sign up to be one of their patrons through Patreon, a $25 patron subscription gets you a book pick every month, which is personalized. I'm pretty sure it's Dahlia Adler that does it all, but she chats to you through Patreon, and you come to an agreement together on a book that they will send you through Book Depository. So this is what I got this for, and it's a YA witches contemporary feel. And it seems so good. It's queer, it's like obviously because it came through LGBTQ Reads, and I'm really excited for it. An E in arithmancy is a standalone, and for that I'm going to be reading Hello Girls by Brittany Cavallaro and Emily Henry. I don't have my copy of this because April, I believe, we did a little trade for our birthdays because they're near each other, and she's ordered this for my birthday, but it's obviously still in the mail. It doesn't come out till really early in August, so that's on its way to me, but I will have it by the time I would ever get around to reading it. And then for an O in arithmancy is a book over 350 pages, and for this I'm going to try and read Vow of Thieves by, I'm blanking on the author's name, Mary E. Pearson. I looked it up. This comes out also in early August. I have it pre-ordered, so I just have to wait for it to come to me. This is the sequel to Dance of Thieves, which is the spin-off of the Redneck Chronicles. So excited for that one. It's definitely going to be over 350 pages. Okay, next is astronomy, and I'm going to be reading some audiobooks for astronomy. So for an acceptable is something with a moon on the cover, and I'm going to be reading Nevernight by J. Kristoff. It's a little bit cheating because the moon is technically the Voyager logo, the Harper Voyager logo, which is on the spine. But we're freaking going with it because I really want to reread both Nevernight and God's Grave in August in preparation for Dark Dawn coming out in September. So this is getting ready for that. I'm listening to the audiobook. I don't have my physical copy because it's with my mum, because I'm trying to force her to read it. For Exceeds Expectations in Astronomy, it's something with night in the title or series name. So I'm going to be reading God's Grave because it's in the Nevernight Chronicles. You get the feel, you get the feel. And then for an O in astronomy, it's something, a sci-fi book. And for that, I'm going to be reading Collateral Damage by Taylor Simmons. This is a new release, superhero style sci-fi. And it's kind of like a similar premise to The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. And so it follows a girl who is the like non-super bystander in a superhero war kind of thing. And it looks so good. This is also illustrated to some degree. It has a couple of cartoon style or comic style illustrations, and obviously the cover you can see is designed to look like a comic book. I'm so keen for this. Then for Care of Magical Creatures, which is our next subject, we have a book that starts with the letter A for an acceptable, and for this I'm going to be reading Amberlow by Lara Elena Donnelly. This is a fantasy which I think is set in an alternate like 20s era like world, but I love this cover and I'm so excited for this. For an an Exceeds Expectations in Care of Magical Creatures, you need a book under 300 pages, and for that I'm going to be reading The Ascent to Godhood by J.Y. Yang, and this is the 4th book in the Tenseret saga, and I'm very excited to read it. This comes out right at the end of this month of July, so I haven't pre-ordered, so I should be expecting it early August. And then finally, for Care of Magical Creatures, an outstanding is a book with a bird on the cover, and for that I'm going to be reading The Near Witch, which has this little birdie here. This is short, which is why I picked it. It's much shorter than a lot of the other books on this TBR. And it's V.E. Schwab's debut, so I'm really excited to try it out. I know it has mixed reviews, but I'm keeping positive. There is also a short story in the back of here, which I might end up somehow working into some other challenge, or I might read the main story and then save it for another month. If I get around to this, we will see. The next subject is Charms, and this is one of my ones that I need and Exceeds Expectations in for my career. So the first 2 books I'll be talking about for Charms, I'm definitely going to be reading. Sorry, the cat is going nuts. So for an acceptable, we need a book with a gorgeous cover, and for that I'm going to be reading Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. Obviously, it is stunning, and it has an eye on the back. Oh my god, this is a YA fantasy following Enchanted Libraries, and April also read this and absolutely loved it, so I'm very excited. This is one of the first things I'm going to be picking up for this readathon, by the way. And then for an E in Charms, we need a comic, graphic novel, or manga, or a book under 150 pages. This vaguely counts for a graphic novel kind of thing, but it definitely counts for under 150 pages. And that is Memento by Amy Kaufman and J. Kristoff, which is the novella for the Illuminae files. I was very lucky to win a copy through the Dimmicks giveaway, and which I'm very glad about, because I've heard some people who paid extra money to get this shipped to Australia really were disappointed in it because of the amount of extra money they had to spend. So this is told in the file format common to the Illuminae files and mixed media, and I believe April and I are going to be reading this together over FaceTime because she didn't get a copy, but I don't want to part with it, so I'm just going to read it to her and show her the pictures so that I can keep it. I'm selfish. And for an O in Charms, I'm going to try and read. It's something that's a paperback book, and I'm going to be trying out Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. There's some things that have been coming out around it having some minor homophobic comments and ableism things going on, and it also has the cross-dressing trope. So please be wary of that if you were interested in this, but I'm still going to give it a try because I'm really trying to cut back on cancel culture. It scares me, and I'm trying to be more critical and reflective of what I read, but not just not read things because a few things have come out about, if that makes sense. I'm trying not to get on the cancel culture bandwagon. So this I have on order. I'm waiting for it to come into my hands, but it should be here by the start of August. This is a Chinese inspired fantasy following, it's been described as Project Runway meets Mulan, I think. So then for Defense Against the Dark Arts, which is the next subject, I also have to get an E in this. So for an acceptable, you need a book that's black under the dust jacket, and for that I'm going to be reading Romanov by Nadine Brandes, which obviously it's black on here, so it's definitely black underneath. This is a magical retelling of the Anastasia legend, I guess, because obviously they found her, so it's not that it's following the mystery of like where she could have gone, but they found it. It's not really a mystery anymore. But I am very excited to read this. And then for an Exceeds Expectations, you need the first book that came to mind when you were watching the announcement video. And that for me was Middle Game by Shauna Maguire. This could also have worked for Black Under the Dust Jacket, but it's going for this challenge. This is a beast, but I'm so excited to read it. I'm definitely reading this one because it's one of my required challenges. And I'm just so excited about it. It's an adult fantasy following like gods and creationism, and I'm so excited. Also, this cover always makes me think of Jenna Marbles. And finally, for an O in Defense Against the Dark Arts is a book set in England or by an English author. This is The Binding by Bridget Collins. Bridget Collins is English, so I'm taking that. This is about books and the idea of like putting your memories into books. It's fantasy, adult. I'm excited. Also, it has decorated edges. I'm personally a fan. Then we have Divination, and for an A in Divination, we need a white book, and for that I'm going to be reading Rivers of London by Ben Aranovich. This is an adult procedural fantasy. I know a lot of people who really love it. The series was originally a trilogy but got bigger and bigger, and I'm definitely excited to try this. For an E in Divination, we're looking for a short story or a collection, and for that I'm going to try out Hungry Hearts, edited by Elsie Chapman and Ellen O, or just Ellen O, I can't remember. I've currently got this on request from my library, so hopefully it will come in soon, and I'm very keen to give it a try. It's all about Asian stories, I think, focusing on food. There could be global stories, but focusing on food. Then for Divination O is The Last Book You Bought, and this is a pre-order I currently have for Gods of Jade and Shadow. I buy a lot of books. I'm awful, but this is one that will have arrived very soon at the start of the readathon. So this is Gods of Jade and Shadow by what's the author's name? Silvia Moreno Garcia, and this is a young adult Mayan inspired, like native Mexican inspired story. It looks really good. Then for Herbology, which I'm definitely trying to get an E in, is one of my subjects. For an acceptable in Herbology, sorry, the kitten is going nuts. You need to read an audiobook, and for this I'll be reading Girls on the Verge by Sharon Biggs Waller. This is available on Scribd, so I'm going to be reading it through there, and it is about teens trying to, they're going on a road trip to try and get their friend an abortion. So very excited about that. I've heard amazing things, and it's a really short audiobook, which is definitely good for this. Then for Exceeds Expectations, we need a book between 350 and 390 pages. And for that, I'm going to be reading The Wise and the Wicked by Rebecca Portis, which is a young adult contemporary fantasy magical realism witchy story. You can tell it's got Baba Yaga on the back, the house with the chicken legs. So excited. And it is 358. Yes, 358 pages, so it's definitely in that in-between middle ground. So excited for this. And for an O in herbology, you need to read something with flower on the cover. For that, I'm going to be reading The Wren Hunt by Mary Watson. I'm in love with this cover. I don't really know what it's about. I think it's magical realism kind of stuff again, and it really seems right on my alley, and I'm obsessed with the cover. For history of magic, I might end up switching this around, but we'll see how it goes. For an acceptable, we have fantasy, which for this I'm going to be reading Darkfire by Chris DeLacy. This is my middle grade books that have been on my TBR forever pick. It's been on my TBR forever. It's about dragons. And then for E, it's a book including a map, and for that I'm going to read King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, which is the first book in the Nikolai duology, which I haven't started yet. And I want to try and get to this. The one that I might end up switching around is the O, which is Reread a Fave, and for that I'm going to be reading The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. But I might switch this out for the A level of fantasy, because I think April and I are going to be buddy reading this. It will be her first time and my reread. So if I don't get to Darkfire and King of Scars, I'll just pop this in for the A of a fantasy. Okay, now we're up to Muggle Studies, and for this, for an A in Muggle Studies, you need a book with a photo element, and for that I'm going to be reading Jacoby by William Ritter. I consider this pretty photorealistic. I'm not 100% sure, it could be illustrated, but I think it's a photo. So I'm gonna go with this. This is from the library. This was the only one that's not available as an audiobook on Scribd, the first one in this series. And I believe it's like a Sherlock Holmes fantasy kind of thing, but it's only like 295 pages, so I'm gonna try this. I definitely want to try and get to this one during the month because it's obviously out from the library. For an E, you need something set in our real world, and for that I'm going to try and read With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, which is a contemporary about a Afro-Latina mother named Amani. I mispronounced that last time. I think it's Amani. And she's a teen mum trying to deal with finishing high school and an obsession with the culinary arts, and I'm really excited about this. And then for an O in Muggle Studies is a book written by a person of colour, and for this I'm going to be reading We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal, which has been on previous TBRs of mine, but we're gonna try and get to it. This is about an assassin, like Robin Hood style thief, I think, and the Prince of Death. Then we have potions, which is one of the subjects I have to get an E in. And so for an acceptable, it's a friend's favorite book, and obviously April recommended me I Wish You All the Best by Mason Diva. This is a non-binary own voices story about Ben, who is non-binary, and his new boyfriend Nathan. I think Ben comes out to his family and gets kicked out of home, and he's living with his sister. It kind of follows all those struggles. I'm really excited about it, and it's short. Alright, so my camera died, so the angle might be slightly different, but we're gonna film the last of this video super quickly before I go for lunch. So for an E in potions, we're looking for something with the cover in your Hogwarts house color, and for that I'm gonna, obviously yellow because I'm a Hufflepuff, and for that I'll be reading Dillian Dreams by Lilian Rivera. This is a dystopian futuristic sci-fi Mad Max kind of story, and obviously you can see it's super yellow, and the under the cover is also yellow. I adore this cover, by the way. Then for an O in potions, it's something that starts with the prologue. And for that, I'm going to be reading The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Azad. This is a Middle Eastern Arabic fantasy with Jinn and Ifrit, and so maybe more Indian inspired, not 100% sure. Somebody's told me, I just can't quite remember. And this has the most beautiful spine color. Oh my god, look at that red. And it does have a prologue. That's it there. And finally we have Transfiguration. So for I need an E in this as well, and for acceptable, that we need something with LGBTQIA plus representation. For that, I'm going to be reading Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nyan, which is a female-female romance in a slave scenario, I think. I've heard amazing things about this, and I'm really excited to read it. It was also my, like, meant to read last year, the sequel's coming out soon pick that I normally put on my TBR. So that's Girls of Paper and Fire. And then for Exceeds Expectations, we need something that's not a first in a series. So I used my TBR jar for sequels for this, and I drew it already because I wasn't gonna wait around till this video. But I drew out The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. This is the third and final book in the series, the Broken Earth trilogy. It's also the floppiest, which I'm really excited about, but I read books 1 and 2 last year and really enjoyed them, and I'm very excited to finally finish this trilogy. It is so amazing. It's adult, like, sci-fi fantasy blend. And finally, for Outstanding in Transfiguration is a book over 500 pages, and for this I used my other 5-star predictions jar, which is fantasy, and for that I drew out Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. I've seen a lot of people, since I put this on my 5-star predictions, DNFing it really early on, including people I trust, so I'm really tempted to try and get to this, obviously because I have to get to the E for my career. I'm going to definitely try this month and see how I go. If I DNF it, I don't feel bad about it. And then we'll just go about our business. But I will have at least ticked it off as having attempted it from my TBR jar, if that makes sense. So those are all the books that I'm hoping to read in the month of August that are at least, or every challenge for the NEWTS Magical Readathon I have something for. Yeah, this video is probably super long and I'm never gonna actually get to all of these, but we're gonna try our gosh darn hardest to get to as many of them as possible and hopefully have an equally as ridiculously long wrap up at the end of the month. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time with another video. Comment down below if you've made a TBR for the NEWTS. I would love to watch it. I'm obsessed with TBRs, and if you don't have a video, let me know what you're planning on reading and what your career goal is. I'm excited to know, and otherwise I'll see you soon with another video.